Tryna say I'm only enemy. Got a cold with my dogs, can't get in between. I can give them life, no more energy. Amen. Amen.
Super Bowl Sunday. Everything that we've done, all the money that we've made has accumulated to the big game. JJ, how are we feeling?
Man, it's been too long since we had football, and this is going to be the last game that we have until the off season. It's like, it's happy, but it's like, it's going to be very depressing.
I know. I'm
You're
going to
stuck with a bunch of blowouts in basketball. It's like, God, damn.
But man, I've been thinking for 2 weeks about this game, as everybody has. We got a good one in store. Let's just, without spoiling anything, that's all I'll say. But I mean, we can get to the narratives first. These two teams played 2 years ago in the Super Bowl. I think it was 2 years ago. Two of the best quarterback performances we've ever seen in the same Super Bowl game. Was pretty crazy to see. Some people even say that Hurts outperformed Mahomes. I'm not going to sit here and say that. I'm just saying some people say that. But ultimately, Mahomes brought it in. And now we're talking about the Chiefs potentially getting a three-peat, first team to ever potentially do that in the Super Bowl era. We'll get into whether you think that's going to happen or not at the end of the video, but let's just start talking about these offenses. And we can start with the Kansas City offense. And I think it's been pretty evident that we all knew that they were getting lucky, very lucky through the first 10, 12 weeks of the season. Ever since they got fully healthy, I think they've just genuinely been a really, really good offense, which is interesting because now they're probably going against the best defense in the NFL. So
Yeah.
what's the first point you want to target in terms of the Kansas City offense?
Figure a way to push the ball down the field, because obviously Eagles' pass defense has been great, but I'm sure the one thing the Eagles want to key in on is just yards after the catch, right? And they've been one of the best teams at doing that, defending it. And that's been Mahomes' bread and butter for at least the last 2 seasons. So they take that away, they can't get yards after the catch. It's going to be a tough game, but they're just kind of at they've been dinking and dunking their way down the field. I think ultimately that does happen, but if you really want to win the game, you're going to have to take some shots down the field.
Yeah, I mean, both of these teams are first and second in plays per drive in the NFL, and that doesn't happen. Saquon gets you big plays for the Eagles, but that doesn't happen if you're not thinking and dunking and calculating your way down the field with 3, 4, 5-yard plays. And that's, I mean, ever since teams got scared of Tyreek Hill and Patrick Mahomes started running too high, they've just migrated into that. And every scoring drive is 10, 11, 12 plays. It's ridiculous. I don't remember who it was, but somebody said some stat where in the 2 playoff games so far, they've only had 7 pass attempts that had more than 10 air yards behind it. That's ridiculous, especially when you have Patrick Mahomes, your quarterback. A ridiculous percentage of their passes are going behind the line of scrimmage, which is not what you want when you have an Eagles defense that is the best defense in the NFL at defending passes that go behind the line of scrimmage.
And the Eagles just played someone like that too, and the Commanders. They like their short passes.
Jaden Daniels and Patrick Mahomes are a little different, though.
They are a little different, but it does give them a slight preview of what they could work on.
No, I agree. There's so many weapons that this Chiefs team has, and obviously you give Andy Reid 2 weeks to prepare for any defense. That's a lot of time for a guy with his brain. So you're gonna hear this team a lot throughout this video, but I can't wrap my head around a lot of these schemes and tactics and matchups that we talk about, because both of these coaches and coordinators and quarterbacks and linebackers, they're all ridiculously smart. So whatever we think is going to happen, they've all thought it. They all have counters. They have counters for the counters. There's going to be so many tricks up both these teams' sleeves that we're never going to see coming, and it's going to be a lot of fun to watch. So I'll just leave it at that before making it sound like we don't know what's coming, because we do have a little bit of information. The other thing that I think is worth talking about, if we're not going to be getting big plays through the passing game, is we're not getting it in the running game either. Kareem Hunt and Isaiah Pacheco hasn't been great since he got back from injury, so they've still been leaning on Kareem Hunt more than we probably want them to. Kareem Hunt's not breaking out 10, 15-yard runs, but he's also not losing you yards. So again, it goes with the theme of dinking and dunking until eventually you're in the end zone. And I mean, this Philly run defense is not one that you want to go up against either. So on both ends of the ball, it just seems like the Chiefs are going to keep doing what they're doing, and it's just going to be a matter of, is the Eagles defense as good as we think it is, or are the Chiefs just going to completely dominate like they have in their ways in the playoffs the last few years?
I just don't think they're going to be able to dominate. I think they'll play well. I think there's going to be like a tough, gritty football game here. Hopefully, no excuses this time around. You know, hopefully they brought like 10 pairs of different cleats. But both teams are playing on the same field. You know, defense is going to be huge. You know, when you look at the Chiefs, you know, they're going to blitz. That's like one of the things they're just going to do regardless, because they have that what is it, 4-2-5 pressure package. So they're just going to keep relying on it no matter who they play. How do you think that's going to affect the Eagles here?
I think so. Jalen Hurts has the second highest sack rate when he gets blitzed, but he's also like, you watch him and like he has the legs to get out of certain pressures, so you don't really notice it until you look at the numbers. So I'm not going to say that I think he's going to have trouble with it. But Spags is also a fucking genius in drawing up blitzes. So I will think at some point in the game there will be a crucial third down, 3rd and 6, 3rd and 7, and Jalen Hurts is going to take like a 10-yard sack, and it's going to cost them that possession basically. So my question, no, like truly expecting that, I feel like that's inevitable, is what's going to happen around that, because then Saquon I expect to have a very effective game rushing. But does that mean he's getting a lot of 10 to 15-yard rushes, or does that mean he breaks off 1 or 2 40, 50-yard rushes? And that's going to kind of decide whether they're driving down the field and Hurts screws it up, or if Saquon just basically gives them the touchdown anyway, like before that even manifests as an opportunity. I really do think it's with the nature of the Chiefs running their too high defense, I think it's going to eliminate some of the huge plays. However, the Chiefs have struggled a lot with the outside rushes, which is where Saquon just dominates you. And I think specifically to the right side, 'cause I think on the left side of the line for the Eagles, I think they're dealing with some injuries of guys that are going to play, but are playing through banged up injuries that you don't want going against Chris Jones. So I think we're going to get a couple big outside rushing schemes to specifically the right. And I think we're going to get a lot of 5 to 15-yard rushes, just chunking out first downs. So I think we know what we're getting from Saquon in this one. I think it's going to be a matter of, is Hurts going to be able to reciprocate what he did 2 years ago? And that's the thing that I really can't figure out. I want to believe yes, but I don't know that we can say that with confidence, because me and you have sat here the last 2 episodes and we've said, make Jalen Hurts be the one driving the ball. Don't let it be Saquon.
Yeah, and it's so tough because like you look at pressure, and he's like one of the worst quarterbacks versus pressure. But it's like when you look specifically at the blitz, when he gets blitzed, he has a 9-to-1 TD interception ratio. So it doesn't make sense. What a better EPA than not being blitzed. So it's like you really have to really do a good job of just getting pressure and just hopefully the blitzes get home, you know. But I think the biggest thing here is just keeping him inside the pocket. You let him roll out, he's going to have a field day, whether he's doing it with his legs or he's just finding someone open downfield because it's just broken coverage. You know, it's just too much time you gave him. Receivers get open.
Do you think the Chiefs are going to blitz with zone behind it or man?
See,
I
I was
think
looking at the
that's going to make a
stats.
big difference in terms of which props you target.
Yeah, I mean, from the 2 games they played in the playoffs, you know, they've been mixing up a little bit of zone, a little bit of man. So I guess you would say, how do you want to defend the Eagles in the pass defense? do you want to play man versus them or do you want to play zone? Because I guess that's the only way to answer it.
I think I'd want to play zone. The only reason I wouldn't want to play zone is because I want to keep McDuffie on AJ Brown. But if you're running a too high zone anyways and you have him bracketed, you are already going to give up the middle of the field with a too high blitz anyways. So I don't think it would make a difference. You might as well keep everybody's eyes on Jalen Hurts in case he gets out and scrambles. So I feel like too high zone makes more sense, but I also know how much they love just sticking McDuffie on a guy like AJ Brown and trusting the other guys are going to do their work. Because what's the other corner that's been doing, the young one that's been doing really well lately? I'm blanking on his name.
I'm blanking too.
Because my first thought is always Justin Watson, and I'm like, no, that's the receiver. Let's see, Chiefs defensive backs. It's going to be staring at me right in the face.
It always does. That's like the most annoying part too.
Jalen Watson, that's who it is. He's been really fucking good. And so if you want to just trust him on Devontae Smith, then it's going to be the Dallas Goedert show. And we can sit here and say like, oh, he's going to get an easier matchup. It's been an easier matchup. We've been targeting tight ends against the Chiefs all season, and it's because of the nature of the way they run their defense. Bend, don't break. Middle of the field is wide open. They don't allow big plays down the field after the catch. That's fine. Feeds into the tight ends. And it's clearly worked for them. They're in the Super Bowl. I don't see a reason they're going to change that up now. Between Goddard, Smith, and A.J. Brown,
you got to give something up.
Yeah, he's the lesser of three evils. So it's like, if you're going to blitz, if you're going to play man coverage on A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith, Dallas Goedert is a consolation. Dallas Goedert is a consolation. You got to, like you said, you got to give up something. So I do still think we see a big game from Dallas Goedert. One thing that I found was crazy. Against the blitz, he's averaging 3 yards per out run since week 10. That's like wide receiver one number, like efficiency numbers.
Yeah,
better than AJ Brown, better than
insane.
Devontae Smith. So he's clearly the guy they go to against blitz. We know that the Chiefs are gonna bring blitz. We know that the Chiefs have been bad against tight ends. 2 + 2 + 2 = 6. Dallas Goedert is gonna have a good game. That's really the one prop in this game where I don't even have to think twice. I'm like, yep, that's one that we're betting on today.
Yeah, that's just one thing that doesn't change.
But yeah, that Saquon efficient run game without any humongous plays, I think is definitely in the cards. I don't really want to bet AJ Brown or Devontae Smith in this one. I'm not gonna lie. I don't know if you see it differently or if you have one that you prefer over the other. I personally don't.
If I had to choose one, maybe Devontae Smith, just because he'll get like more slot targets. You know, I mean, that is one thing you can sort of target versus the Chiefs. You know, Khalil Shakir did have 6 receptions for 46 yards last time. We unfortunately bet his receiving yards last game.
It happens.
Hey, the plus money receptions hit. It be like that sometimes.
But yeah, bro, I just the Eagles side I feel like is way more funneled and clear. Where it gets murky is we talk about how this game's going to be slow, both teams dinking and dunking, taking long drives. I also don't think either defense is going to stop them from scoring once they get into scoring position. So I don't want to sit here and say take the under on the game because it's going to be slow and methodical, but it's also going to be efficient. So I don't know.
Yeah, it's real tough. It's because the 2 defensive coordinators got 2 weeks to plan. It's just diabolical what they're going to come up with here. And it's, as a fan, someone who watches the film, looks at the data, it's hard to predict because they're going to change things up. And they've been changing things up based off matchups the entire playoffs. It's typically what happens during the playoffs. And I mean, during the NFL season, like compared to basketball or something, like NFL, they change it up week to week already. But it's like when you get to playoff time, it's very specific, very keyed in things they want to do. And then you get 2 weeks to do it. It's very hard to predict.
I think the last thing we need to talk about is kind of the nuances of or at least the tendencies of each team. We know the Eagles, they have the tush push. Pretty much everything is 4-down territory if they can get it to 4th and short. But the Chiefs, if they get in scoring position, if it's not 4th and 1, they're just going to kick the field goal. So I think that's most of the time that doesn't really care. But in a scenario where we have the big game like this, there's a million props on the board that aren't normally offered. There's a lot to take advantage of. There's a couple ones that I've targeted personally is first field goal. I took it as a Chiefs. It was pretty much even money each side. Again, unless Hurts is taking a 3rd down sack, I don't think the Eagles are going to kick it. And on top of that, Jake Elliott sucks from distance. I think he's 1 of 9 or 1 of 8 from 50 plus this season. Harrison Butker's, I think, 7 of 8 in his playoff career, 28 of 42 on his career regular season and postseason 50 plus. So the Chiefs are going to be more willing to take a field goal if they get in a scenario where they have to. The Eagles won't. The Eagles, unless they have no other choice, they're going to go for it. So for that reason, I also took the Chiefs to get the longest field goal. I think it was minus 120 on Bet365, minus 145 on Caesars. Again, they're more willing to do it. They have a better kicker with a bigger leg. It just makes way more sense. And then the last thing that I think we can target is, since we've talked about both these teams being so slow and methodical, neither of them are scoring 30 plus. I mean, there's a prop on DK for neither team to score 30 plus at minus 140 on the under. And I think it's worth noting that the Chiefs are what are they? 16-1, 16-2 at this point, 17-2. They scored 30 points for the first time in the season last week. The Eagles are going to be a little bit more slow and methodical, hammer the run against them. And I just don't see it happening back-to-back weeks. As much as I really do like this Chiefs offense now that Andy Reid has all his toys, but I think they'd be remiss not to keep doing what they've been doing. Like, I think it's more likely that one game is an outlier than anything else. And the Eagles don't do much differently. So if that's the case, why would either team really score 30 plus in this scenario? I mean, the total is what? 47.5, 48.5?
Yeah.
It's asking for a lot, in my opinion. But those are really the three kind of weird edges I had in this game that I at least thought was worth talking about. I don't know if you have anything on your end that you've noticed in this game, whether it be props or just general information about the teams.
I mean, honestly, with not a whole lot of information that we've had to work with, but I mean, we've had a little bit to work with, and I feel like we just covered everything that we could.
Yeah.
I'm not much of a special teams person. That's been your specialty this season.
It has treated me well. Oh, one more thing that I forgot about. Vic Fangio does not have a great track record against Patrick Mahomes, but Patrick Mahomes is also not very good in the red zone against Vic Fangio. It's a very weird dynamic. Like the counting stats, passing yards, touchdown or interception ratio, it's all great for Patrick Mahomes. But I think he still only has 8 touchdowns in 7 games or something when they're matched up. Vic Fangio was coaching at the Broncos for a while, and then the Dolphins last season. The Chiefs obviously stomped on the Dolphins in the playoffs last year. Chiefs beat the Eagles, not with Vic Fangio, but with a different defensive coordinator 2 years ago. So, and Mahomes is 7-0 against Vic Fangio. So the Chiefs kind of have the upper hand in terms of history in this scenario, and Mahomes specifically. But, I mean, we don't see many rosters like this Eagles one. So it's kind of just, do you want to bet on pedigree, experience, and I don't know if intelligence is the right word, but we'll just use the word intelligence, or do you want to bet on just talent? And I don't know. I keep going back and forth.
Yeah, it's tough.
But
because you could say talent, there's a ton of talent in this game, but there's a lot of brilliant minds as well. So I guess it's just preference what you want to think.
Yeah. All right, let's get to this parlay.
Let's get to it.
All right, for the parlay, we're going out with a bang. We're going to win 10 units, putting $220 to win $1,000 on this. Let's get it. And the first leg we're going with is Xavier Worthy to get a touchdown. You know we put a touchdown in every one of these parlays, and Xavier Worthy is the best one in this game. The Eagles give up the 5th highest percentage of touchdowns against them as passing touchdowns in the NFL this season. Hasn't changed that much in the playoffs. And Xavier Worthy has had 2 or more red zone targets in each of his last 5 games. And I don't think it's a coincidence. That's also when his ADOT has gone down. They want to get the ball in his hands. They want him to play make. And that's why he's scoring in this game. And next up on the Eagles side, you guys probably predicted this the second you press play on this video. Tight ends against the Chiefs. Dallas Goedert, go and get us 60 yards. This is the best matchup for you comparative to all your teammates. And I mean, we've been making so much money off of these videos with the tight ends against the Chiefs system because they're always in prime time. It's only right we end the season with one of those. So put those two together. You get plus 450 on FanDuel. Let's make $1,000. Good luck to everybody. Appreciate everything that you guys have done for us this season. Make sure you like and subscribe if you haven't already and you like NBA content because we will be doing some of that. Otherwise, go follow us on Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, wherever you can find us. And we'll see you guys on the next show. JJ, we've had a great season. Hope we have a great NBA finish as well. Take care, everybody. We'll see you.